Give me 1 second to load up. All right, welcome everybody. Sorry about the delay. We've got this all figured out now. So, new software, new times, all the fun things. So, thank you so much. Of course, tonight we have POKEchef joining us this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Of course, as always, glad to have people in the hobby come forward to discuss what's going on in their lives and how they're having success in Pokemon. So, thank you guys. I'm seeing a whole list of people already in the chat. So, thank you so much for joining us. Gibbo Slice, all of our favorite people. We've got the Shiny Outpost. Thank you for joining as well. Glad to see some people in here. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, today we're going to be running this as a choose your path. So, I thought this is a good opportunity to talk about you, your backstory, what you do, where you're finding success in Pokemon. It's always cool to hear someone when, like I said, follow you on Instagram, as we were just talking about before we came on to, the live, having you post on Instagram all of your different cuisines and things like that are always really, really good as well. So it's a really interesting background coming in. All of us have really interesting backgrounds sometimes on where we're actually at in life. And, how we enjoy Pokemon and what we do in Pokemon is always completely different. So, again, thank you so much for joining me on this Chooser Pat. So, I'm sure a lot of people here already know you pretty well, probably just from your comments and chats, and of course all of your following you and everything else like that. But please do an introduction for us here on the channel of who you are, and what you do in the Pokemon TCG and do for work.
All right. So I go by POKEchef954. The 954 is the area code for Broward County, South Florida. I am from Hollywood, Florida. Um, I was born and raised there. I live now in Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, I have been in the restaurant industry for about 22 years now. I've been in it since I was 14 years old. Got paid under the table till I was 18, and then kind of went all the way up from there. Currently, I'm an executive chef partner for a very upscale casual fine dining steakhouse. I've been with that job for just actually a week ago, 11 years now. So I've been with that company for 11 years. Um, as far as Pokemon, I've been around Pokemon since it came out, since I was in like fifth grade when it came out, and I've been kind of hooked on it since. Grew up, got older, got out of it. Pandemic, kind of the same thing. Pandemic happened, the boom happened, got back in it with all the hype. Been kind of dabbling in it since, or at that time I was dabbling in it a little bit here and there, and then I was trying to buy my first home, and then I was selling some cards on eBay to help pay for that. And then I just went to my first Collecticon. And then honestly, that changed everything for me. It changed my whole trajectory. I wasn't on Instagram. I didn't have any social media. I didn't do anything. And I kind of went there just to show some love to a few of the guys that I watched a lot of their content. And I went by myself. I didn't have anybody with me. And I just stopped by like their booths and was just like, hey, I watch stuff. I love what you're doing in the hobby. I appreciate you. And that was kind of it. And then I got to talking with a lot of the guys that we kind of know now, like PK, Dan, Gemma, Pokemon, Charlie Herlock, all those guys. They asked me what I did, and when I told them what I did, they thought that was kind of cool. And then we just kind of chopped it up from there. And a lot, push from like Walrus and old school Pokemon and Zach Gemma, Pokemon and Dan. They kind of pushed me. They're like, hey man, it's really cool if you did this, it's really neat on the hobby. So I was like, all right, it's a little outside my comfort zone, social media and everything. So I was like, all right. But then once I did that, the hobby got like way bigger, and it's a lot of fun. And then I started getting deeper in, and then now I'm kind of grading. I'm flipping right now. I'm still looking, sourcing singles and getting my eBay. More liquid and moving on that. The eBay's doing fairly well. And then I'm gearing up for some live streaming. I'm going to start live streaming soon. We've kind of I've talked to a little bit about that here and there, but it is something I want to do, especially watching Nick Old School Pokemon and Weedle from Weedle's Warehouse on eBay Live. It's remarkable what those two guys do, and at the level that they do it at. So super impressive, super fun. Love Pokemon, love food. here I am, you know.
It's always cool because you sit there and the more and more of you that you talk about, and you just see the diversification that's happened. It's a lot of us are just we enjoyed it as kids. We started in 1999. We went for as long as we did at that original push, whether it was the people that made it into like Neo era or like me that made it into the X era at that point in time. And we kind of pushed forward. And it's just really cool to just see the diversification of just the individuals that are in this hobby. I always find that to be the most interesting is that a lot of times hobbies people have like a specific background. Even a lot of sports guys seem like they come from like a very specific background comparatively to like Pokemon, it's like everybody. We've got Nick from old school who has been a ship. What was he? A ship? It was on
like
shipping.
a boat engineer.
Yeah, boat engineer for shipping all over the seas, countries, and all this other stuff. You got Dan who was a chemical engineer for that part. You've got Jake from Pokenomics was a therapist and that kind of thing. You've got PK, he's a geologist, I believe, is what I've kind of picked up on. I'm an HVAC tech. You're a chef. I mean, we are all over the place, and it's just like we all come together and have just this awesome fun.
Yeah, we do.
Just talking Pokemon because it's just like, hey, we can be ourselves. We can be that nerdy individual that should be in, we were hiding in the closet post, before 2020 happened. And now it's like, now we're cool. We can talk about this in the open and don't care. You can bring people into my room and people go, oh my God, this is the coolest stuff I've ever seen. You'd have never brought anybody near this stuff in 2020.
Yeah, 20 years ago, it was weird and creepy if you had all this stuff.
Yeah,
now it's like, it's a staple. You have to have the background. And all,
you gotta have graded cards laying around, some ETBs. It's just the standards anymore. And it's just, I laugh because it was just such a boom, just 2020. I said, if anything that's happened out of the pandemic, even if this market were to falter, even go down, whatever, it's open. The box is open. Pandora's box has been open, and now all of us OGs that enjoyed this are now like free to go and talk about it without being worried about being ridiculed for being a Pokemon fan or collecting Pokemon or having binders of Pokemon cards. So it's just really, really cool. And it's just, like I said, it's really interesting to see the backgrounds of all the individuals in this hobby and where that they come from and, how they've grown. And, it's just really fun. It's really fun. And like I said, this year I'm really excited because I finally slated everything. So talking about Collecticons, I'm going to my first one since the pandemic. So we're going to be going to North Carolina here. So that's going to be the first one kicking off. So I will be there. So my wife and I got everything all set. We're going to be at North Carolina. We're going to be at Chicago for sure. So
there you go.
Chicago's close to home. I'm not passing that one up. That's only 4 hours away. So I can drive 4 hours to go down to Collecticon on that one. But North Carolina, we're going to make a family trip out of it. We're going to leave a little bit later, but we are going to be down at North Carolina as well. So we got that all planned out. Everything's figured out. So we will be there. So
Perfect.
a little bit fun on that as well. So no, it's just really interesting to see all the backgrounds, where people come from, where their success is. So as you're finding, it sounds like from what I've been seeing, you've been doing a lot on eBay, getting that market built up. And that's, something we talk about quite a bit, even on the channels when we're talking about your success in Pokemon is a lot of times getting these markets built up, and it's very difficult. So what has been you're doing mainly eBay, I know currently from what I've seen. You're seems like you're kind of working that eBay market, trying to become more liquid, doing more sales, kind of focusing on the graded cards and getting cards graded and doing that. That's what I've seen. Is that pretty much what you've been doing? Kind of focusing on?
Yeah, I have actually a lot of my main focus has been like getting like the flipping, getting the cards, flipping the cards, and I think I got that down. Maybe I'm arrogant or cocky on that, but I think I got that down. I think I'm pretty good in rolling that. Now I want to focus on more like bulk singles and everything, and then shout out to Thrifty and Pokemon Wonder. I listened to their interview, and really a lot of the stuff Thrifty was saying, and then Ivy was just on like 30 minutes ago, and she kind of repeated what Thrifty said. They do a lot with singles, and it's it's pretty awesome. And that's like the trend. I keep hearing everybody kind of talking about singles. So where I was focusing a lot on the flipping, I want to focus more on like getting the singles and bulk singles and getting all that going. And really full throttle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm getting piles of them. I mean, it's the new market is definitely going for those singles market. Seems to be.
Yeah.
Getting some good opportunities, getting ahead of. I just actually bought, just for example, on the singles, talking about that. the Greninja EX. I actually was on a claim sale, and they were out there for $153 a piece, and I was like, the Greninja EX, brand new, and it's still going up in value, and
Yeah.
they actually will be here in 2 days. But I
Oh,
bought
that's
them at $153 a piece. They were going through this claim sale, and they're already up to 200 to $220 currently on that card. It's continuing
yeah, they
going
are.
up. So once again, there's great opportunities to really see that potential growth as well. Singles are definitely seeming to be more where it's at if you can really dig through that market and get the good opportunities too, are a big part of that one. So yeah, I see that. But I guess the one thing I really want to touch with you is where have you found success in that eBay market? What have you kind of learned by doing it? Where to kind of expand it and help someone that was new, that's maybe looking at doing that or considering that as a road. What have you found to be successful to try and help someone else? Maybe get a going in that market or get an opportunity to step into that market.
So I think I guess I'll talk about like how kind of how I did it. So, you start off with the YouTubes and you listen to everybody, you listen to all these guys, you listen to kind of the corner that we're in, right?
Yep.
But there's only like so much they could tell you, they try. I feel like everybody does a really good job trying to explain what they got going on, explain their setup, but everybody is different. Everybody's setup is different. So for me, like my answer, I guess, to that is like you gotta just start doing it, man. You gotta start doing it and stop trying to like wait for somebody to tell you what to do or what play to make or
Mm-hmm.
like like majority of the stuff I learned it was just from me doing it. It wasn't like from a YouTube I watch or something like that because again, everybody's situation is slightly different. But it wasn't for me starting to do it, starting my first submission, starting like all that. That if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be learning. I think I would still be trying to like wait on the next guy to tell me like, hey, what do you do? Like what is happening?
Yeah.
But I would encourage like if this is something that you want to do, I think you got to get hands on. It's same thing with like I would apply the same thing for cooking, right? You want to be a chef, get hands on. I'm not gonna knock school, but you need to get into a restaurant. You need to get into a kitchen, and you need to get hands on. You need to start doing it because that's how you learn. That's how you learn, and that's how you become successful doing it. And I still think I'm in a very beginning stage. I think I have a lot more room to grow, and I think I have a lot of future plans. And I'm just trying to get myself structured right to execute it right because I don't like executing on like something half-ass or something just not planned or planned correctly or like executed to a T. I am a chef, right? So it's like organized, planned, ready, work ethic. It's all there, but I need to be structured and I want to do it on a high scale, and I don't want to look inexperienced doing it, you know. But yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about that, and you're absolutely right. I mean, even with me in the channel the last 2 years, I think that that's the harder part is that we've all started at different ways, and that's
Yeah.
like I've talked about that before. It's really difficult on this end to try and get everything out there, and we try, even myself, I try and be transparent as I can on what's been successful throughout the years and how I've done it, but overall, trying to really break that down and qualify it is we try something, we see how successful that is. If it was successful, then we try and build off of that and maybe expand that more and see how far or how successful you can be on that. So a lot of times, and the problem is when you start into this hobby too, it can really vary on what is going to be successful.
Hmm.
So in 2020, when you really started, or 2019, it was a completely different market than it was today, and even when it was in 2016. What's going to be successful for each individual is really going to change depending on what the actual driving part is for that particular market. But I do 100% agree with you. Structure is probably the number one thing that even myself getting into it, it's when I started into it, it's probably one of the things that I didn't do very well, and I'm not gonna lie about it. 2019 was literally I bought anything, everything, singles, packs, everything, sealed product, all kinds of stuff. There was no organization. I was literally just buying things because I enjoyed it and I had the money to do it. It wasn't like, now I'm very organized and meticulous. I want this, so I'm going to do this, this, and this. Like you said, it's kind of like being an HVAC. I'm always planning the job. I'm laying out the job. I'm buying the parts for that job. I'm setting that job up, and I'm making sure that that process is completed and we're following through with the final steps to be sure everything works smooth. it became that way for me. I wasn't like that when I started out, and I think that's probably the number one thing that I 100% agree with you is that organization, and the more organized you can become at the beginning is definitely going to be a big hit. I got saving grace on that because number one, when I started, I wasn't necessarily trying to make money. I was playing, playing the actual game. I was playing in Unbroken Bonds and doing Sun and Moon, actually doing tournament play because that's what I enjoyed, and I still do that. But I was buying sealed product for my potential long term. I saw some value in this thing. Hidden Fates was another thing, really good value. All these sets I saw potential value in them, just not to the extreme. But 2020 really bailed me out of the things that were, potentially could have been really big pitfalls because I didn't have that organization skill behind those particular things. So, yes, I 100% agree that if you're really looking into doing something in this, organizing and finding an organization that you can continue to stay consistent on things will definitely help you out in the long run, no matter what you start with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think scaling too. Like I don't want to go too deep too fast, you know.
Yep.
I want to make sure I scale properly. So I've a lot of like the restaurant stuff I apply to Pokemon. So how I'm navigating this is just like opening up a new restaurant, and I've opened up locations and restaurants and been a part of that. And I'm telling you that the foundation and the structure and the building and the scaling, it's everything. It's everything, everything, everything. And then behind that is reputation. You got to have your brand. You got to have the reputation, and then you go from there. Then you network. You make connections, so on and so forth. But good business practices,
Yep.
all those lines.
Yeah, and them good reviews, them good word of mouths are always going to build you more. If you get a reputation of being knowledgeable and being able to help someone, and being correct and actually making sure your pricing is right, making sure you're
Right.
not ripping people off, making sure that if you're saying I'm going to give you this, this, and this, you follow through on those things. It's
Hmm.
definitely going to be a great thing and a really good driving point for your overall reputation and continuing success. I mean, once again, from the chef business, I know from HVAC business. We
Hmm.
always say word of mouth will get me 10 more jobs, and then one bad review will get me 100, chase off 100 jobs. So overall, you need to be sure that you're continuing to keep that reputation and get good word of mouth because any business, word of mouth can be very, very good for building up your business and continued growth and
Hmm.
success.
It could be everything, and word of mouth is huge. Like word, like people are, and especially with reviews, right? Reviews and everything, that people are more inclined to leave a review when they're very angry,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You got to do like twice as many good ones to get that one good one versus one half bad thing. They're like
Yeah.
that's you.
Well, it's like I
Yeah.
always laugh. It's like the HVAC business or Google. And I always laugh at it. It's like so. It's like you said, you get two people to review good reviews on Google. And like you said, it's really hard to get someone that's happy to go and
Mhm.
review. It's just like they don't care to do it. But if they're mad, it's like they're instantly there, and their sister and their aunt are all reviewing
Yeah.
against you. And it's like I didn't even do work for three of these people, but here they are hitting me with bad reviews because I made their sister mad because I didn't want to do work for them or something.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't, or I was too expensive for them, or whatever comes up. I mean, there's 1,000 different reasons that people get mad about things. But yeah, it's always funny to me. Getting a good review is very difficult. Getting a bad review, it takes nothing. I mean, honestly,
Right.
it's really simple to get someone to review a bad review for you.
It
But
is. Yeah.
so next thing I always kind of try and go after is financially, where did you start, number one, and where have you seen the most potential growth in that financial aspect when it comes down to your business side? You've seen, has it been a just a slow increase? Have you had some pitfalls, some really good areas on that financial side? Did you start really low at or did you start off like me? You had a budget of like $4,000 to start out, and you kind of grew on that. I mean, when it came down to the financial side, how did you really start to build your business and build that Pokemon business that you're currently working with?
So I borrowed money from myself. So at my job, I get bonuses, and I'm invested in stock, and I get stock payouts. And a lot of that, I'm guess I worked very hard to get my job, and I'm very fortunate to have those benefits from my job to allow me to have that. So I use that to start, and then I basically went to CollectorCon and bought whatever I could, and then recently we've had local card stores pop up. So shout out to Hidden Block Games and Triangle Trading Cards in my area. There,
Okay.
so I'll source from them and buy from them. Um, but as far as like the eBay and all the sales, same thing. Like you learn as you go, right? So when I was starting to flip, I was just getting anything that looked like it could grade, and then I'd grade it, and I get it, and then it kind of everything just sits. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So now I'm to a point where it's like, okay, I'm seeing what moves, what sells, the chase cards, hot characters, species collectors, going after things like that. And then people want tens or busts, right? It's really a one or a 10. People, there's one collectors and there's 10 collectors.
Yep.
So I try to chase after a one or a 10. And I go after the one or a 10. If it's not one and it's not 10, I'll single it out. And then right now, I'm actually pulling back on listing on eBay because I want to focus a lot on the streaming. And I listen, and I'm very observant, whether it's in the kitchen or online or anything else. And if I'm seeing a lot of the guys who are streaming not vending at Collecticon anymore and preferring to stream, that tells me something. That
Yep.
tells me that they're financially doing well enough to not go, or better than what it would be at Collecticon. And then a year ago, that was the play. Everybody was vending at Collecticon. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I love this hobby so much, and I love to see it evolve and adapt. And I feel like we're at that point. I feel like we're at a point where it is starting to shift gears a little bit, and it is businesses are changing. So it is something I do want to I do want to get there and start streaming. I'm pretty much set up. I'm stopping myself from streaming because I'm just in a little bit of a dilemma for it as far as like what platform to do it on, and making sure I want to do it on a consistent basis. I want to do it on a consistent night or nights, and then I want to have a consistent inflow of product going in and out. So until I can nail down a day, till I can figure out my dilemma on what platform, and then until I can have that consistent flow, which I think I'll be fine as far as a flow of cards. But until I nail all those things down, I'm kind of pulling back. So I'm stockpiling like crazy. So I do have like a bunch of cards. I got two submissions out. One's on the way back. One just went out today. I do have a bunch of singles laying around, kind of stacks, and I'm just kind of sitting. And then when I go to Collecticon, I want to invest more and just buy, and see what deals I can get and push it all towards streaming. And then I want to see how my business navigates from there because I am set up as a business. I am set up with the tax benefits and all that stuff on eBay. So I do want to shift gears and see what's moving better on streams versus eBay. And then I watch the guys doing it, right? So I'm watching Nick, I'm watching Guido, I'm watching their eBays, I'm watching their streams, I'm watching what's on their stream. So to navigate that a little bit better, and you can kind of see what they're selling and leaving on eBay, or what they're listing or saving for specifically eBay,
Yep.
and what they're moving in their streams, and then you can kind of feel out a price point of where's the ceiling in these streams, where's the bottom in these streams, and kind of navigating and going from there. But I am gonna put a lot of focus into these streams and take that sucker full throttle, man. I'm ready for that.
And it's a big step. I mean, I honestly originally started, like you said, YouTube was kind of my first venture, and then now I've been doing a lot with TikTok. I've been keeping up with YouTube and TikTok pretty synonymously. I've been kind of backing down on both this month just because, number one, I'm coaching little league, so there's a lot of time constraint with that. But it's good. I'm spending time with my kids. I haven't had enough.
Yeah.
Personally, I think I've been back not spending enough time with my kids, so it was a good opportunity to coach the little league team they needed to coach. So I just stepped up, and it was a good way to get all three of my kids play on the same team. So a lot of fun. But overall, you're absolutely right. The streaming seems to be where the interaction is and where the potential growth is. The more I push it, the more growth that I have in that particular area. So it's kind of one of those things through, like you said, you could either throttle up completely on it and be very, very successful in the streaming section, or if you want to just do it as part-time, you can go on like I do 3 days a week and just have some fun, sell some packs, find out, like you said, where's the market going. And I kind of love it for that particular reason, like you just said. You can feel where that market's kind of shifting and where it's kind of pulling and what people have interest in by what they're
Hmm.
coming in and buying. I mean, if you've got all this stuff available and you see them all of a sudden specifically targeting this area, you get a
Hmm.
real good glimpse of, number one, for the investment side, you can make that decision. Do I want to invest in some of this stuff for future? Because obviously there's some interest in it. Plus you got to do a little bit of research. Is it because of playability? Is it because, certain
Right.
cards become playable? So there you go up in value as well. So people are chasing that. But it also gives you a feel for, like you said, what should I buy more of to bring in, and maybe potentially future sets. Which sets should I buy more of? Because I know that they're going to have that draw, the kind of the same
Right.
appeal that people
Hmm.
really love and enjoy. So that's the other thing is too. You kind of get that knowledge being in front of people continuously. And I will say, as my investment stuff, it's been really, really helpful on that as well for the stuff that I hold back because I can tell you right now, Lost Origins, Brilliant Stars, I would hold as much of that as I could because everybody wants it, especially Lost Origins. I,
Yeah.
I honestly, I would 100% say I was wrong. Brilliant Stars versus Lost Origins is just absolutely killing Brilliant Stars right now. If I
I
have
love.
Lost Origins, it sells out pretty darn quick. It does not stay on my shelf very long. People want that Garantina. They will literally rip as many packs as they can chasing that thing. Brilliant Stars just doesn't seem to get that. It's really surprising
Right.
to me with that Charizard V. I thought for sure that would really, have that draw, that pull. But it seems like as time's changing, so are people's draws on things. Evolving
Hmm.
Skies, you couldn't even keep it on your shelf for more than a couple hours in a stream. So if you can get it, it's gone. Lost Origins, second, right behind that. Fusion Strike. Fusion
Yeah. Future
Strike is
another one.
another
Yeah.
one that's like people are just destroying Fusion Strike right now.
They are.
And you can't buy it fast enough and keep it on the stream long enough. It's just
Yep.
those are really the two big ones or three big ones right now. If you can find a good source for some decent
Hmm.
pricing, whether it's in some products, Pokeballs, wherever you can get that, those tins that are out there right now with Evolving Skies, if you can get those particular products, and like you said, I wouldn't have ever guessed that until I was in front of these streaming this stuff
Yeah.
and seeing what people are really wanting. So to me, Lost Origins is going to be, you can still get good pricing on Lost Origins, and it has a huge, huge potential of growth just because of the demand for that particular set still out there today.
Yeah. It's wild, and I mean, I was watching streams at last night. I was watching Robert or Blue, and he's ripping Fusion Strike, and Nick
Yeah.
and Weedle. If you look, it's like Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, and 151, and it's like bing, 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 like crazy, back to back to back to back,
Oh yeah.
just going, going, going.
151 English or even the Japanese right now. If you have either
Yeah,
one of
doesn't
them, the
matter.
151 cruises out of here. The only thing I got are the three that you see there, but I've got some cases of stuff I sit. Also, once again, that long-term investment side. It gives you that idea for where the demand is. And I always sit there and picture in 5, 10 years, what are people going to potentially want to come back for again? Well,
Yeah.
probably for them sets. What am I going to probably want to chase? Someone asked me for a Sword and Shield set. What am I thinking I'm going to go after? Well, Evolving Skies if I can afford it, but otherwise I do like Lost Origins. I like Brilliant Stars, all of which Fusion Strike. I do like that Gengar and the Espeon inside of there. They have some good chase cards in there as well. So we are seeing it, and it gives you a really good feel for those particular items as well. So yeah, Fusion Strike is another one. It kind of surprised me at how much. Considering it was always kind of that mediocre set for the longest time. Nobody really took value in it, but except for players. Players
Yeah.
love that Mew deck. That Mew Genesect deck was a just killer deck, but now that it's gone out of rotation, it's like, boom. It's
Yeah.
all of a sudden Fusion Strike is off and it's gone. And it's funny. It's just interesting how sometimes that market can change on a dime as well.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. It is wild, and I think in addition to those three sets, it's like whatever the newest, most modern pack is, that's the other kicker that will sell in between those, and it'll
Yeah.
just boom, 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 like crazy.
And even like streams right now, Scarlet and Violet, people don't think there's a lot of value in Scarlet and Violet sets. But realistically, I found that you have about a 3 week window for any of the Scarlet and Violet sets. Twilight Masquerade had like a 3 week window that you could set your price at like $4 a pack, or $4.50 a pack, and it would just be gone. It just goes because people are in such demand for it. But even Scarlet and Violet sets are really interesting because they'll do really good for like 3, 4 weeks, and then you'll just see them start to taper off, and then they
Yeah,
just they just kind of die, and then it's like it's dead ground, and then people all go back to Lost Origins, they'll go back to 151, they'll go back to Brilliant Stars, Fusion Strike and Evolving Skies until the next set, and then that one will go for 3 weeks, and then everybody shifts back and goes back again. It's like they just keep going back to to Sword and Shield is every
hmm,
single time you do it. It's just funny. It's really interesting in the streaming world. When you talk about Scarlet and Violet sets, which ones would I invest in? Temporal Forces is probably one of the ones that I know that have a lot of demand, but I don't know if it's still I don't know which Scarlet and Violet set was honestly a investment besides Pokemon 151 at this point. Personally.
Yeah, I like Paldea a lot, but
Yeah.
Twilight Masquerade, I'm interested to see what happens because there is a lot of playable cards in there, and there
Oh
is
yeah.
a pretty popular deck coming out of that set.
That Ochre
So
Pond deck is very,
yeah,
very playable. Very, very
yeah,
strong deck. And yeah,
hmm
I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see how well that holds up and whether or not it can win, get a little bit more of a step up and win some.
yeah,
Especially the World's coming up here, what is it, 5 weeks? 6 weeks?
yeah, yeah.
So Worlds is coming up pretty fast. We just had the regional here, or the national here, so, and that was won by a Sableye deck, I believe.
That's
So
wild.
my Sableyes are gone. FYI, if you're
Yeah,
looking for
yeah,
Sableyes
yeah.
on
That's
TCG
safe.
Player, they gone. They
Yeah,
disappeared the next day. So I knew
yeah,
something big happened because that night I came in the next morning after nationals and I was like, I had like 17 orders on TCG Player for Sableyes. They were just gone. I'm like, what
yeah.
happened? Yeah, a guy won with Sableye deck. It was pretty funny.
That's
So,
funny.
yeah, it's just funny. It's interesting because you can almost tell without watching or looking at nationals which one's won because of which cards become very disappeared the next morning.
Even when you search TCG Player, like if you're searching high to low, and then you see like some EX or something, you're just like, or a trainer, and you're like, oh, and then you see, yeah, it's part
Yeah.
of this deck, and it's just like booming.
Boom. Yeah, it's off. It's
Yeah.
gone. So, next thing
Yeah.
I always like to just kind of discuss with people on the Choose Your Path series is, of course, when it comes down to your success in so far, have you had any pitfalls? Is there something that you found kind of like drew you away a little bit and actually made you question or make you reorganize or change the way that you were doing things when it came down to your success so far in it?
Yeah, there has been pitfalls, spending money on a submission that half of it sells, you got to start figuring that out, or else you're gonna burn money. You got to start figure. That's where like the popular Pokemon came through, and 10, getting stricter on grading. You wanted to hit a 10 so bad, so when you're looking, you're like, maybe, like maybe they'll, but stop maybes, stop the maybes. It's either 10 or no. Is it yes or no?
Yep.
So and then just go from there, and then I honestly like the hardest part for me. Maybe I'm just an old guy or something, but like all the technology, bro, all the systems, all the mic, all the lighting, all that, like that's all the stuff that nobody talks about on YouTube.
So,
Nobody talks about perfect lighting. Nobody talks about getting the right mic. Nobody talks about your audio. Nobody talks about like hand cameras and setting up OBS or that. It took me a while. I had a week off of work. I just took a week off of work, and that's what I did. I was like, this week I'm just gonna sit here and be stubborn and sit here until I figure it out. And that's what I did. I tried to reach out to people who knew a little bit here and there, and got what I could from them, and then got everything set up. But you definitely you don't want to misplace your money. You don't want to waste your money on bad submissions or bad cards that aren't going to sell or messed up things. You just don't want to hoard all that. It's a lot, especially if you don't have a place to unload it all.
yep.
So I feel like Pokemon is scary, right? Because you can get wrapped up in so much money, or like, the hot topic right now. I hear a lot of people talking about debt and everything like that, but you can find yourself there, man. If especially if you're like a guy who's just ripping packs. I mean, you're gonna run that card up, man, and you're gonna have a lot of fun, but it's not gonna be fun on the back end, when you
No.
have to deal with that or talk to your significant other or anything like that. Like it will get scary. It will get scary fast if you're not smart. So being very smart with your money and being very 100%. I would say, like, if you're 1% unsure about it, don't do it. Don't do it. Put your money on something you're 100% sure on versus something you're 99% sure on. I would rather somebody do that, you know? But yeah. How about
Yeah.
you?
I've had my pitfalls. I mean, just like anybody else, when you're learning, like I said, a lot of it I got bailed out of in 2020. So if I were to look back and look at some of the potential pitfalls that I could have potentially fallen into there, yeah, definitely could have gone downhill pretty quick at that point in time. But like you said, being very smart about things, even like the grading side of things, that's kind of why personally I've backed away from grading quite a bit. It's just because it's either 10 or bust. Like you said, 10-1 or bust. I mean, realistically, that's where you're at. And to me, it's like, but the problem is that some of these cards, you buy and you get into it and you do this stuff and you do all your due diligence. You have the little, like me, I have a scope and all that stuff, and I check all this stuff, black lights, all the other things when I was doing submissions, and it's still only about an 80% success rate.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're still potentially sitting there with 20% of product that you will never sell. So you hope that the other 80% of that submission can hold up. And that's if it's a good submission. I mean, let's be honest.
yeah, right.
If it's 80% on a good submission, it's typically probably around 70. You typically, 70% of them are going to come back what you think. Because once again, the one thing I always say against grading personally is that grading always is a issue because it's all up to someone's viewpoint. It's not like it's a machine. It's not like it's, something that's cut and dry that everybody does everything exactly the same at this place. No, you're up to a grader, and it's a person, and how that person views that card is going to change whether or not he's going to give it a 9 or a 10. It's a very subjective thing based on the person. So, like you said, that's why personally I kind of backed away from grading a lot this year. I still do some grading, and there are some opportunities. So I've picked up like the Mew from 151, the Japanese version 151. That's been a really good turnaround card for me. Really fairly easy to grade, but if I know they're pretty grade easy cards, such as some of the Japanese, now Japanese has been getting more and more difficult as well because now they're
It
printing
has.
so much, the quality's going down. So now it's getting harder. That Japanese isn't an instant 10 anymore like it used to be.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's been a big change as well. So you got to be a little bit more picky on the Japanese side. But overall, that's been one of my biggest things is I just didn't want to keep running into that pitfall where I'm hoping that 70% of that submission can somehow overpower the 30% that I'm losing. And like you said, I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people starting to shift to the streaming side of things, because if I can sell packs and get in front of people, number one, I get knowledge, and number two, I'm getting sales. A pack sales, a pack sales. It doesn't, there's not like I'm risking anything that it's not going to come back the way I want it. Yeah, someone could give me a bad review, but that's pretty much the risk that I'm taking when it comes down to that factor. But
Mhm.
yeah, definitely the grading cards, the graded card side can get wrapped up pretty quick, and it's definitely something that there's quite a bit of skill to it, and there's quite a bit of luck to that, and that's a big factor when you're actually working with the graded card side of things for sure.
It is, and even like my submissions now, like I've had them. I've had them. I do some English, and then I do a chunk Japanese, and then I do a small section of Lorcana because I know that Japanese is going to tend better. But it is like you said, it's not as easy as it was before,
No.
and for as little as I've been doing it, I've known that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's that, but then the Lorcana too. But for me, like Lorcana moves slow. It only moves when people see it. And
Yep.
then it's like, oh wow, that's really cool. And it's like, yeah, I know. Buy it. You
Exactly. Buy it
know?
now, quickly.
Yeah, buy it right now or make me an offer,
Yeah, I was gonna say
So
that's just it. I mean, that's the thing is that some of the stuff is like that too. Like you said,
yeah,
you're talking about species buyers, so you can
yeah.
grade specific species that are get one sale, really high sale, but there again, you might be waiting a year for that sale to hit before the next person wants that
Right.
particular card of that species. It's weird because even I've seen some Rayquazas sometimes sit there, and I've had some Rayquazas sitting there, and I'm like, well, they're Rayquaza. How hard can it be? A Rayquaza EX should sell fairly good. Get it as a 10, put it on eBay. It sits on eBay for 8 months and doesn't, gets like 20 views on it. It's like, well, it's a Rayquaza. Someone should want this thing, and it's like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, then one day it sells. But there again, but how long were you sitting on? Number one, the source money. Number two, the grading costs, and number three, just the space that it took up hoping to get that turnaround on that card that you thought could have been a quick turnaround, and here you are waiting, you know, 8 months to sell the thing.
Yeah.
So,
And that's again, that's why I lean more into the streaming, man. I like being able to get it and move it. And you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, but overall you're gonna do, as far as I've seen, you're gonna do better. And you're gonna be successful, if you do all the right things, of course. But I like being able to have that consistent flow of sales, just going
mhm.
like every 30-second auction, boom, done like that. And at the end, we're pack rips and buying packs, and we're having fun and doing it. And then it's just fun. And I say all the time, like, a lot of people get wrapped up in YouTube or like things on YouTube. And for me personally, I'm not here for that. I'm here to have fun and like get away. And like I love a lot of the people I met in this hobby, and I love being around all that and the positivity. And for like Nick and Weedle stream, I've said it before, like that's my favorite part of it because it's just cards and it's like a very nice, good environment and a great chat and a lot of good people. and I love it. I have a lot of fun in it, and I want to create the same experience, the same thing, and do it to that level as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just it. I mean, it seems like streaming is going to be more popular, and I actually kind of like the streaming as well because I do enjoy opening packs. So let's be 100% honest. I have a tendency to want to open stuff, and I do like to chase. I like to chase things. I like
Yeah.
to see it. But I always laugh because it's like, like my wife said, she said, since you've been streaming, you really don't buy very many packs anymore in the store. You don't chase very many things. I said, because I'm getting my fix.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because just because it's not my card, I got to open it and I got to
Yeah.
feel it. And I got to see it, which is awesome. I still haven't seen a Moonberry on as many Evolving Skies packs I open. It still blows my mind. It's the one card that has absolutely evaded me to no end. But in general is that I've got to see some of these big chase cards come through my hands and see them and actually get in touch with them and pull them from a pack. So you're getting that fix that I need, that I love to do, that I don't necessarily now need to spend the money myself to do it, which is always a little bit of fun as well. And like you
Yeah.
said, though, it continually creates that throughput money as well. So I can take that and then take a portion of it. And then if I see something like Lost Origins being very successful, I can go and buy some of that with that money and put it away, continually just kind of take a section out. But I'm not killing that throughput money. So now that's where I'm really liking the streaming too. It's something I didn't originally plan on doing,
Yeah. Neither.
but it just became something that was like, hey, it's fun. I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying it. And I kind of dipped my toes into it on TikTok and went, let me try it, just see how it
Yeah.
goes. Is it fun? And it was. It was very much fun. I was having a lot of fun. It's kind of interesting because I have my YouTube following of all the individuals that have been on YouTube where we talk about investing, talk about singles, talk about what you should be looking at for purchasing and going after. And then it's like I have my whole other demographic of people over on TikTok that are just literally, they're like the party crowd. I'm going to go out to the bar now and just have a party and just do what I want,
Yeah.
throw everything to the wind, throw dad responsibilities away. We're going for a party now. And it's just like, it's kind of like a little backdoor getaway and it's funny. So it's like, investing, nah, rip that sucker.
Yeah.
So it's just fun. It's just funny because you get two completely different worlds, and it's awesome. I
It
mean,
really is.
so yeah, it is. It's literally what you make it too, which is awesome too. So it's a lot of fun in that aspect
Yes.
as well.
It really is.
So no, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of really interesting that you're going there, and like you said, those pitfalls, those things that you're like you're talking about, you can get really scary sometimes the amount of money that you could be taking a risk on too. And that's something I don't think that even me on YouTube, now that you talk about that, you don't really talk about that as much. You're feeling very
Right.
confident in what you're doing and what we're discussing. And, even myself, you sometimes put a lot of money down into places that is a 100% risk. And like you said, sometimes you take a look back at it and go, that was really scary. That was a really scary move to do. I always go back to Evolving Skies. I had confidence that Evolving Skies was going to be very good when back in December of 2021. I had so much confidence in that fact that I bought 10 cases of it at that point in time. Now, there was always that chance with all those reprints, with all that stuff coming forward, that could have gone south very quickly. Now, I had confidence it wouldn't, but looking back at it, if we had continued to get reprints and it didn't catch traction and people didn't take off after it like we saw, there's a potential. I put over $6,000 out there that's just stuck. I mean, it may take me years for that money to get back to where it was. Now, it didn't, but there was that potential. I mean, we do that all the time sometimes, and you don't
Hmm.
really, you have confidence in what you do after a while, and that confidence is what will start to potentially put yourself in a position where you could actually be in a very scary position at some times. But knowing it and working through it are also big factors as well for being successful.
Yeah, and I think knowledge is power. Don't just dive in. And I say that from learning from just diving in. I always learn from my mistakes. And when I'm teaching kitchen guys, um, learning recipes or just navigating the kitchen, I'm always like, I don't care that you made a mistake, but don't make the same mistake. Make a new mistake. We're
Yeah.
done with the same one. We made that mistake. Let's learn. Let's move on. It's not a mistake if you learn, right?
Yep.
So I'm always like, make a new mistake, and I don't care, because then we'll learn. Then we're learning in the kitchen. I like consistent learning. So It's the same thing. When I jumped in, I was selling a bunch of Mario that I grew up with, and I was going all in on Pokemon Go, bro. I was just flooding it, bro. Now I'm down monitored, but guess what? I got a master set of Pokemon Go that's worth $50.
Were you watching Nostalgianomics when you first started buying it?
Yeah.
Pokemon Go all the way.
I just, bro, to this day, I'm sorry, I like that set. I love that set. I
It's a
like
cool
the arts
set.
on the cards, but
It's just
unpopular
never.
opinion.
No offense, Alex. I always like making fun of that because we even did a live right when Pokemon Go was coming out, and he kept trying to get me to say, "Yeah, go with Pokemon Go. It's gonna be good." And I'm like, I just can't. I can't tell you to go for that set. I think it's got
Like,
potential, but man, I just can't. I can't do it.
I'm like, bro, I'm getting all these sweet deals.
Getting ETBs for like $34 a piece. I don't know what's going on. They're fantastic.
Yeah, it's brutal, but you know what? I love my Pokemon Go Master Set, and I don't care.
I love the Radiant Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaurs. I think they're really good cards. I always thought the Mewtwo was weak, but in general, I mean, the problem is it's such a small set that there was a lot of pulls. So it kind of almost flooded itself out based even on the single side. I mean, the Radiant Charizard was easy to pull. The Mewtwo was easy to pull. I pulled it like 5 times. Just playing, opening and doing stuff with it. So that's just one of those things. It was a learning step, and it was just kind of interesting, and it was just funny, overall. Pokemon Go, it is what it is. I still think that overall, you give it 10 years down the road, I think it might do something in that amount of time. It might be fairly valuable in that amount of time, but
I still like it. Another part is like, this set's so small, I can complete this sucker in no time.
Yeah. It's like celebration set. Yeah, this should be real quick. So,
but whatever. You live and you learn, and you move on. But I'm glad. Like, if you learn from the mistake, I'm happy. Like, I like learning. I like moving forward. So if it's something that I can move forward off of, I'm all about it. I'm all about it all day.
That's just it. I mean, you're gonna find those situations where that'll happen, and it's nothing against the set. Like you said, Pokemon Go to me is still a decent set overall for what it offers. It isn't that bad. They just overprinted that set to death for how small it was. That was the bigger part of it is that it's still available just about everywhere for under $45 in ETB, and it's just it is what it is. It's a learning curve. It's a fun, and that's not going to be the only set that's ever going to happen with. That's not going to be the only one that's going to happen. But we've learned. We've seen what happened with it, and that's the bigger thing. It's like you said. Don't make the same mistake twice. Learn from the mistake, and then learn to readjust so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, of course. Never happen again.
Okay,
ever.
That particular instance again. We're all gonna get caught in something. I guarantee it. So eventually, that's why I've got a whole pile of EVV Max promos because it's just weird. Sometimes you get caught on something and you just ignore every warning that there is on it. And like I said, I think the one thing is that Pokemon is pretty forgiving as long as you've got time. If you're not in a rush, if you're not trying to pay your rent by buying a ton of stuff and then selling it really fast, and if you've got time to be able to move the stuff, then there's never a bad potential overall, I think, in the value of these Pokemon products. And, the sealed products and the sets and everything like that. It's just, sometimes it's time. Problem is that even Pokemon Go, relative to the hobby in general and to most even high-end collectibles and sports and anything else, they're still extremely young. I mean, that's the one thing that I don't think people really realize is that we got so used to, you buy something this month and by next month it's doubled in price. By the following month it's gone up by 6x and you're expecting that turnaround. And the problem is that it just that isn't typical. That isn't how it typically works. That's not how the whole trend usually moves. It's just something that a lot of people that came in right now got accustomed to. And it's just not going to always be that way. Not every product is going to double in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes it may take year 5, and then all of a sudden year 5 it'll triple. Year 6 it'll quadruple. Then you'll start seeing growth on these particular products as well, as long as the hobby holds out. So,
I would definitely agree with that, big time.
So, Well, we made it through that section of it, the pitfalls and all the fun parts like that. The next thing I always like to is kind of get a background for yourself, as well as like you were just talking about. You're looking at the streaming. Are there any other things that you're looking at potentially growing into? You were talking somewhat about like the singles market and stuff like that. Now, are you talking about just like high end singles, such as alternate arts and that, or are you looking at more of like the Pokemon Wonder and myself, where we're doing a lot on TCG Player as well, going down to that kind of singles level.
No, I want to do singles. I want to do high end singles.
Okay.
At some point, I want to grow to build things catered towards players.
Okay.
And do certain things like maybe have a bunch of decks that pre-built that they can buy, or like sections of code cards, or things, because it's hard if you're starting, you don't have code cards, or you're playing online, like it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And it's nice, like when we're in some of these chats, we have this guy Geek Bear. He always gives a lot of the code cards to Shiny Outpost, and that's really cool to see. But I do want to do stuff a little bit catered to players, especially when I stream a little bit. And then I do want to, I love promo cards so much, and I do want to do something and highlight promos, or get up to a certain point where I full on specialize in a lot of them. But baby steps, right? So right now, I just want to get the streaming going. I want to get the singles going. I want to get the nights of the week going, and just have that consistent flow, and just have that machine running. And then I think I can branch out and start picking and choosing. And then I want to be careful, because I don't want to throw money into something that's not going to move just because I like it. Like, I'm not dumb. So so just because you like it doesn't mean everybody else. Pokemon Go, right?
Yep.
So I want to make sure it works financially as well. So I'm not just like looking at a bunch of cool stuff that I like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but that's where I plan on branching out, and as I scale up, I want to do that, and I want to get like these Japanese exclusive promos, and I want to start going high end. I worked my way up from like kind of garbage kitchens to fine dining, and I kind of want to do the same with cards. I want to start kind of where I'm at here, and then I want to start going up, finding those more luxury buyers, I guess, so to speak. And I guess for the reason that those cards kind of move, so you got to find buyers and everything. But working in fine dining and working in like regular restaurants, from what I noticed, fine dining is kind of bulletproof. And by that, what I mean, like, I've worked through a recession, I've worked through a pandemic, I worked through like all the like election years and all these things. And there's one thing fine dining was different from the other, is none of that stuff is affected in fine dining. Like, none of their money stopped. None, you know what I mean? Like, it was
Yep.
just boom, boom, boom. Like, it just always was there.
Yeah.
So I do want to get to a point where I do cater to that crowd a little bit, and have that. I want to find a good balance. I'm always kind of a well-rounded person, or I'm always like thinking from all the other perspectives, and then think about my perspective and kind of make decisions like that. Um, so in Pokemon, I kind of want to do the same thing. I want to kind of cater to all the crowds. I love kids too. I invite kids, and I was telling them, bring your binders. I'll come to the table as a chef and look at it. And it's real cool for them. And if I have cards, I'll give them cards. So I do want to cater to, like, I want to check all those boxes. I want to be like kid friendly, family friendly. I do want to do stuff for the players. I want to do stuff for the normal collectors. I want to do stuff for flippers. I want to do stuff for the high end crowd. Kind of all of it. I want to check all the boxes. But again, bringing back to like scaling and building and foundation, and making sure one step is successful before you go to the next step. That's kind of where I'm at. I want to make sure one thing is down pat, and then move on to the next, on to the next. But I want to continue to just move that train as far as I could go. Just like, shout out to Retro. Retro was like, I want to see how far I can go. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know how far it's going to go, but I'm going to go. As far as it's going to take me, I'm going to keep going and going and going.
You just got to keep pushing. I mean, just like any of us, you kind of find something that works, a niche that works. So you continue to kind of work that and see how long and how far you can push that particular niche. I mean, you could become,
Yeah.
very, very. I mean, you sit there and you. So, one of the things I was talking to my wife the other night about, actually, we were kind of sitting there and I was talking about TCA gaming, and I was telling her, and she's of course, my wife knows nothing about Pokemon, and I said I would have loved to have been there the first time that Rusty sat there and went, I want to start collecting Pokemon cards.
Yeah.
To where
Yeah.
he is today. I mean, you sit there and think about it. Every individual in this hobby has not necessarily been, you know, right away. A lot of people don't realize is that they grow. Everybody grows. You take little
Mhm.
steps. You try something that's successful, and then if that's successful, you build on that success, and you try and go maybe bigger, or you try and go a different, slightly different direction that's connected to that. And like you said, you start building that, that structure of success that continues to build and become bigger to where you become more popular in this hobby, where you become more,
Yeah.
you know, known, and you get to be known for a specific niche or for a specific item, and then that continues to grow. And like you said, you could become known for those, high end collectible Pokemon promos from Japan or Japanese promos. You become the guy that has those particular things just on accident because you keep building on that step and you continue to get more in different ones, and you just always have them available, and you know the sources where you can get them from, and you become the guy that has even the sources to be able to find some of these, which is sometimes the harder part in this hobby. And that's where I've
Mhm.
always would love to personally have taken the time and really done that and grown on that, is trying to become the guy that has the sources just to know where to send people a lot of times. Whether or not I make money on that or not, that's not my intent. I would love to be able to know like sources. So like I know I send people, like I know, I got connections with Rusty and I got connections with Dan, and I like to send people these individuals, or get a hold of them. Hey Dan, do you have a shiny Rayquaza EX? Do you know laying around, or do you know where you could get one of those? And becoming more like that. Now it's something I just haven't had time to build on, and I would love to do that and get to a point where I would. And I think that if you could find someone that could be that source, it'd be really huge. I mean, I know we all talk and we all get things, but
Right.
a lot of times knowing people's inventory and who to go to first for that particular item would be very beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. And it's remarkable to talk about Rusty. So Rusty's like, I always call him the lighthouse. He's like our lighthouse, like our
Yeah.
hobby kind of lighthouse, right? He's our beacon. But it's remarkable about him. Like Pokemon is so big, and Nick was talking about it one time. It's like somebody was asking who Rusty is, and you would think everybody know who Rusty
Yeah.
is, and the hobby's just so big. Like I mean, I was at Collecticon, and everybody there's so many people, like nobody knows who Rusty is, from when you really scoot back, and it's crazy to think to even say that. It's crazy to say that, and it's just wild. And to kind of tie into that, Charlie Herlacher said, once you start seeing how big Pokemon is and the inflow of people into the hobby, it makes you a little like fearless. And I would agree with that, because ever since I heard him say that, uh, it takes a lot of risk out from me.
Hmm.
So it makes me, I guess it motivates me to keep what I'm doing moving forward, into the streaming, into like kicking it up a notch, because of that. Because for me, I have a very good job. I've been there 11 years. I've like all the benefits, all like I check all the boxes over there. For me to ever even consider leaving my job, it would have to be so much.
Yeah.
And Pokemon, I mean, there is potential to bring it up to that scale. I don't know if I'll do it because of my schedule and what I'm tied to, but if I can, I'm certainly going to do that. But then my next question would be, okay, if I'm going to leave this job, can this job take care of me and my family for all the way through till retirement,
Yep.
something like that. So I always take that into consideration, um, as well I'm navigating, kind of moving forward. But again, I'm going to take it as far as I can go. And, but a lot of like hearing that kind of stuff kind of motivates me
Yeah.
into it a lot more, a lot more like fearless, kind of how he says. So, and then it's funny, like I like every live I'm on, I always mention like something from other YouTubers or streamers or something. But honestly, like I'm kind of everybody's little baby. I watched everybody doing stuff, and then I went to Collecticon. I met everybody, kind of hit it off with everybody, kept in contact, since. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and then I'm gonna build off of that, and build out, and then I just keep going up. And again, I'm not gonna take my foot off the throttle now. I'm gonna keep it going as far as I could go. But I am a little bit of a product of everybody with a lot of work ethic behind it, and I am fortunate enough to have a good job to be able to bankroll the beginning parts of that. And now I'm on a separate, you know, uh, I guess money pot or bank, where it's just Pokemon funding Pokemon and kind of
Yep.
doing it like that. So we'll see where everything lands, but loving it so far.
Yeah, I mean that was even myself. I mean, I talked about that last year because I've always just kind of taken money out of the family account and just kept building. I
Yeah.
2020, I sold most of my stuff off. I bought the things back and just diversified, made more. And then last year, my real goal was to just try and make it all self sufficient. I'd like, I've got enough inventory, I've got enough product, I've got enough stuff here to be able to make this self sufficient. So let's start making this self sufficient. If I want something, I need to sell stuff in order to do that. Like you said, I've had Eli at Pokemart USA even ask me, would you ever consider going full time in this? Is this something that you would do full time, like start a full time online shop or get to that point? And the straight answer has always been no. I've never really had that desire to go full time in Pokemon. Would I love to potentially have an LCS at some point in time that I could maybe go chill and sell product and talk to people and have that availability? Yeah, I mean it would be fun. But I
Right.
definitely have to have partners where I would just be a partner in it because I just don't see me leaving my career in HVAC or anything like that because I do enjoy it and I see
Yeah.
that giving me for sure like security in life that I'm gonna continue to have a career that career path's not going anywhere. That's secure. That's gonna get me to my retirement. Maybe when I retire, my body's
Yeah.
gonna be beat down by 68 years old anyway, so I might as well just go sit in LCS and go sell Pokemon cards at that point in time. Maybe that's the overall goal. But like I've told people, I don't see going full time. I just don't see. Do I see paths to get there? Absolutely. I mean, I could see a lot of different paths to actually get there. It's just whether or not I will ever pursue those paths to actually do it, and that's the bigger question I think a lot of people have to decide is that there is the opportunity. If you're in a dead end career where you feel like you're never going to get advancements, but you can found the pathways and things in Pokemon to do those things, then maybe it is a good pathway for you to try and get out of that particular jobs. But as long as you're in a job where you feel secure, why not just use it as a side thing? You could be as busy or as not busy as I want to be in it. Just like that, I'm coaching Little League. I can kind of back off of YouTube a little bit. I can back off of TikTok a little bit, and I could just go and drive back into it pretty hard here in the next couple months, and
Hmm.
probably get back the gains that I potentially lost by doing so. So that's the nice thing about it is that if it's not full time, I don't have to be committed to sitting here making video after video after video to try and keep that YouTube algorithm happy. I can kind of back off and just do lives for a little bit. And if I want to start pushing, then I can do more videos. I can just start doing shorts. You can continue to build. And it's the same thing with anything in this hobby. As long as you're not personally trying to push through and become full time, it's actually a
Right.
little bit more fun, in my opinion.
It is, and I plan on double dipping as much as I can double
Yeah,
dip.
exactly.
I'm loving the double dip right now, so
Yeah,
I'm having fun doing it, and I'm enjoying everything.
yep,
Like I said, I'm not here for any like that drama or any of that stuff. I kind of stay out of that. So it's not that deep for me. I love this hobby. I love what I'm doing. I kind of stay in my lane and worry about me and not anybody else. And then I try to soak as much knowledge in from everybody, bits and pieces from everybody as much as I can, um, and then deflect kind of the rest. But full time, man, I plan on double dipping as much as I can until I get to a crossroads. But again, the question is it sustainable? Can it take care of my
yep,
family? Does it, you know, uh, Weedle said it or somebody said it. It's yeah, you're working for yourself. You're not clocking in, but you're never clocking out when you are, and I have a very good thing going with my job, especially for a chef job. That executive chef, and I have an executive chef partner, so that's a big deal, and it's extremely hard to get a position like that. It's extremely hard to maintain a position like that, and for as long as that I've done it. And because I've done it that long with the same company, I just have all those benefits. I get increases yearly. I get quarterly bonuses. I get the stocks. I have so much vacation time. I can't even use it all if I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's tough. So I have such a good thing going that may not be the case for everybody. For my particular case, I do have a good thing going. I do enjoy it. I love where I work. I love uh, the few people that are above me. I think I have like two or three bosses, but I love them, man. I know them personally. Um, I don't know. I got a good thing going, so it'd be really challenging for me to do it full time, and it's got to be a little bit nerve wracking for everybody, um, to make that commitment. But everybody's different, and everybody does what's best for them. But as far as me, I'm not at that point yet, and we'll see when I get to those crossroads. But right now, I'm gonna
Mhm.
double dip as much as I can.
That's exactly it for me too. Like I said, even going to North Carolina, it's gonna be fun because
Yeah,
it's gonna be a
yes,
family trip and it's gonna be completely
yeah,
paid by Pokemon. So I mean,
that's right.
that's the fun thing. Like I said, you're double dipping, you're having that fun, you're getting that extra money to be able to do these kind of things, especially in the current situations that are out there in the markets and everything like that. There's definitely worse investments that you could be into, and are there better investments? Probably. I mean, I've seen some people have some very good success in some other investments as well, but overall, like I said, it's just nice because it's not really investment. You can just take money out. It's not like I have to sit there and pull out of your 401k if it does fantastic and pay penalties and blah blah blah. You can just go and have a bank account and pull it out and go. If I want to take a trip, go sell a few more Pokemon cards and get a couple more graded cards sold, and you could take a little bit longer trip. I mean, like you
Yeah,
said, double dipping. I'm not taking out of the family account, and we're just having fun, relaxing, and getting away. So
that's right.
yeah, 100% agree with you. I mean, eventually there could be that crossroad that could always appear if you just even
Yeah.
on accident. I mean, it could accidentally happen, just based on how things are going. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
interesting to see when that would ever happen. Um, like I said, I am my own boss already, so it'd be really hard for me to fire myself. That's the catch 22.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of interesting to quit on myself. So that'd be an interesting crossroad to get to at that point in time. So we'll see if that would ever occur. But like I said, I could always see if someone wanted to open an LCS and me wanting to back them or be part owner and something like that. I could definitely see that being more likely than me just going out and actually breaking out and doing Pokemon on my own, like actually being a business owner and besides
Mhm.
the streaming and things like that. So even the streaming, I just don't see it getting big enough to where I'm going to allow it to become all encompassing where I have no time left to just be doing just this. So, like I said, my only chance of actually getting to a point where I could potentially break out would be if I partnered up with some people and did something. I mean, it has been discussed by a local LCS about getting bigger and potentially taking. I've been buying stuff from them for a while, so there was a discussion there for a little bit about me joining in on them. But they
I
kind of
think I
decided with the.
more like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we decided to hold off on it right now with the current inflation and everything else going on right now in the economy.
Yeah, it's going.
So that's a big
It's
factor too. That was running. You get kind of worried when it comes down to the fact that things are getting so expensive. People are, they were seeing people are slowing down on what they buy. They don't come in anymore and buy 10 packs. They'll buy five. They're still buying. Don't get me wrong. They're still buying stuff. They're just not buying as much. So that means they're starting to get a little bit tighter on that pocketbook for their fun stuff.
especially big time, big time. And I would see myself even before making the decision to leave my job. I would want to almost demote myself to take a lesser position with less responsibility and less hours before I full on quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think I could do that. And you're right. People are getting a little bit tighter, and I feel like a lot of what I'm noticing, maybe I could be crazy, but a lot of the restaurant industry, the flows of it is very similar on the whole aspect of the Pokemon industry, the market, as far as how people are buying. For example, in the restaurant industry, summertime is slow season, and right now we're in the summertime, and my cards are moving a little bit slower than what it was during holiday season, right?
Yep.
And I'm booming during the holiday season. The other thing that impacts my business in the restaurant industry is election years, right? Every time there's an election year, as closer as it gets to it, we drop off a little bit. Everybody gets a little bit tighter. But as soon as it's over, it's like it's right back. So we're a little bit in both right now. We're in summer, we're in an election year. Um, I feel like you said, there's inflation, there's all that going on. So yeah, Yeah, I would definitely agree with all that too.
And it's the same thing even with the streaming and also with the, even YouTube growth and things like that. It's kind of funny because you're absolutely right. Right now is actually a really good time to kind of slow down on YouTube a little bit because the algorithm, people just aren't sitting at home watching YouTube videos. Let's be 100% honest. I mean, I know that there's quite a few people watching this stream currently. There's 11 people on here now, but it was up to almost 23 people, 24 people at one point in time. But in the summertime, people tend to watch YouTube less. They tend to watch social media less. They tend to buy less because they're more outside. They're more doing other
Yeah, they're out
things.
and
They're
about.
camping. Yeah, they're not around the house. So what you really see is even on YouTube, your best time for growth in streaming and in YouTube happens from about November 1st until roughly mid March to beginning of April. You'll get really big growth, really big people, a lot of people watching. It seems like people are sitting at home. It's dark outside, it's cold, so people, even in the northern hemisphere of, northern part of the United States, people start getting, it's dark at like 4:30, 4 o'clock, and so people are inside early. They sit down and chill, and you really see those little pushes at that point in time. So right now we're really seeing kind of a downfall in these particular or slowdowns. I don't want to say downfalls, but you're right. There's like little
No,
slowdowns
slow down.
depending on the seasons. Election years, people are definitely getting tighter. I can tell you that. I'm seeing people wanting to spend less. Overall sales of they're not stagnant, but they've actually declined a little bit. So there's still sales. There's still people buying. But even my normal streamers, they'll come in usually just automatically buy 10 packs because they just, well, I'm chasing the guaranteed of E. So I'm going to buy 10 Lost Origins or 20 Lost Origins packs. Now they're buying 5 or 10. So
Mhm.
they've cut that amount of sales down a little bit. And like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see how the selection process goes, what happens, and how things get handled with the inflation factor and what happens with the economy here after an election. Because a lot of people don't realize how many changes there can be to the economy right after an election for how it goes.
Yep. It's remarkable. You kind of hit on the head too, because it's same restaurant industry, same thing. Like from November, we go all the way into really it's like after Mother's Day, and then you have the one-off Father's Day, which is like it's not that crazy of a day in the restaurant, but it goes from that time to that time, and the same thing when my Pokemon cards are moving, it's from this time to this time.
Yep.
It's the same little window. I'm the chef guy, so I'm always relating stuff to the restaurant, but it's remarkable how many similarities there are to the flow of everything there and what I'm seeing in Pokemon and what
Yep.
I see sell in Pokemon. And because I grew up in that industry, I apply a lot of that stuff to how I navigate Pokemon and like what my sellers are, and what sells, what doesn't sell, and what can I make, doll it up and make special, and grade it or do this, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there is a lot of similarities to both markets. As funny as that sounds, but there is.
It's just people's natures in general. I mean, it just seems like people run trends, and that's exactly what we see, especially in the sales and collectibles markets. I mean, restaurant markets, sales markets, you really do see these kind of ebbs and flows all throughout the year. Um, Tax season, I always love tax season for Pokemon stuff. Black
Hmm.
Friday, Christmas time, that's really, really hot. You get that little 2 month there. And then you get January kind of slows down because people have spent too much on Christmas. They don't have any money left. It kind of dies. Then February 1st happens. And then it's like through February, sales start to tick back up because people get that tax return money and they're like,
That's
well,
right.
now I can buy Pokemon cards again. So then they really push through. And then, like you said, starts warming up outside, weather gets nice, people just don't want to be inside anymore. People aren't sitting there watching the streams as much. Your stream volume starts to drop, your sales volume starts to kind of go down a little bit, and then of course, like you said, now you're kind of in the summer months. There's like this 4 month window where there's really no holidays, there's really no specials or anything going on right now. There's no reason. 4th of July is coming up, but that's a completely outdoor hobby or hobby, completely outdoor holiday. So people really don't come inside for that particular holiday or spend time with friends and family except